All right. Okay. So in this video, I want to discuss with you the rounding and the significant figures. We've already discussed about rounding to the nearest whole number, 10 and 100 and so on, but also to a number of decimal places. In this video, we're going to see how significant figures can incorporate any kind of rounding. So you don't have to differentiate to decimal places or to whole number or to nearest hundred or anything like that, as long as there is a significant figure sort of level of rounding. For the IB, and that's the most important part, the three significant figures rounding is the superstar. So unless the problem specifies another level of accuracy, for example, let's say to two decimal points, places or points, or to the nearest whole number, or even if the question is does not specify a different level of accuracy, but the question we are answering is in the format, for example, how many people do something, and then if you end up with an answer which is 7.25, of course you're going to have to decide whether 7 or 8 would be more appropriate as an answer, because you cannot answer that question with decimals. What else I wanted to say is, like, in order to understand the significant figures rounding, you're really gonna have to understand where is the significance of those figures is coming from. So in order for us to discuss a little bit about the significance of the digits and how they are placed, I just created this little sort of like, table, and you can see from the left side we have the hundreds, and then we have the tens and the units, and then it's the tenths with THS. It's always fun to pronounce. They're all tenths, THS. Then the hundreds, and then the thousands, and so on. And then, of course, we will make sense to fix the decimal point somewhere. And now let's just give an example of a number to see kind of like, what's the significance of those points. So if, let's say, we go with the number 282.6 and I positioned it where exactly it needs to go. So 2 is going to go here, 8 is going to go here, 2 is going to go here, and then it's the decimal point, and then it's the 6 on the other side. So what we have here, essentially, we have the number 282, and we can discuss a little bit, or basically highlight, what's the significance of each digit. So that 2 stands for the 200, or 2 times 100, and then 8 stands for 80, and then 2 for 2, and then this one stands for 6 over 10, right? Hence the sort of like, tenths up here. And all of them are significant, starting with the 2 being the first and most significant figure, right? Because it corresponds to the bigger value, 2 times 100, which is the 200s, and then 8 is going to be the second, and then 2 is going to be the third, and then 6 is going to be the fourth. So if I was about to round this number to 3 significant figures, what I will do, I will just circle the first, second, and third significant figure, and then I'm going to check what happens with the next one after outside the circle. And because that number is a 6, that means what I have inside the circle is going to have to go by 1 up. So the answer to 3 significant figures for this one, rounded, it would be 283. And that's it. That's the final answer. Now, I've chosen 3 significant figures for reasons that I've explained before. The IB really expects that rounding is going to be consistent to 3 significant figures, unless you're told otherwise. Anyway, moving on. Now, what will happen if I put another 0 in front of that number? So let's just adapt my table here and put the thousands at the front of it, right? And then take that number and adjust it so we have an additional 0 at the front. So let's put a 0, then a 2, then an 8, then a 2, then a decimal point, then a 6. The question is, what's the role of this 0, and does it have any significance at all? Well, that corresponds to 0 times 1,000, which is again a 0, and therefore it's understandable that 0, it does not really hold any value. So the first significant figure, it's still the 2. the zero at the front can be completely ignored. And I know it doesn't quite make sense when you have numbers bigger than zero to put zeros at the front because it doesn't change its value. But it does make a lot of difference when you're working with decimal numbers. So let's just go to the next example. Let's change color, make it with red. So if we have a number which is 0.03 and 9, and we want to consider the significance of those digits the way have been placed, then 0 at the front does not count as a significant figure because it doesn't hold any value, and then the next 0 does not count either. So the first significant figure, right, is going to be the 3, and then the second significant figure is going to be the 9. And so when I round to 3 significant figures, if I have zeros at the front, I'm going to have to completely ignore them. So let me give you an example to see what's going on. Let's assume that I have the 0.029387, and I want to round these to 2 significant figures to begin with. Then what I will do, that's my first significant figure and that's my second significant figure. Again, the trick with the circle, check the next one. It's a 3. The answer is what is inside the circle. And then if I wanted to do the 3 significant figures, then I would do exactly the same, but I would include the 3 as the third significant figure. We said that the zeros at the front do not really count. Then I check whatever is after, which is an 8. So the answer is going to go by 1 up, what is inside the green circle. So it's a little bit messy, but I hope you are able to follow that part. So this is going to be the answer to 3 significant figures. Last detail regarding significant figures. Significant figures at the front hold absolutely no value. They're not even considered significant. So for reasons that you kind of rewind the video and see, like, where is the first significant figure and where's the second. But for the last example, I'm going to use a number that has a 0 in the middle. Let's say that number here. And we want to round that number to 3 significant figures. Now, the key here is whenever you have zeros in the middle of the number, they do count. They do count as significant figures. And you can sort of place this number back to a grid or make a grid on your own. And what you're actually going to realize is, like, that 0 in the middle, because it's in the middle, it does have a significance in terms of I'm going to have 3 tens and 5 units, and then I have 0 tenths with TH, then 7, then 2, and so on. And then the fun part is that if I want to round this one to 3 significant figures, the technique that I've shown you before is always going to work. Now 0 is included as a third significant figure. So the answer that I'm going to have, if I round this number to 3 significant figures, it's going to be either what is inside the circle or it's going to go by 1 up. What dictates that is the next digit outside the circle, which is a 7. It's above 5. So therefore, the answer is going to be 35.1, and that's it. I hope this helps, and watch out for more video coming your way.